Thank you for that. It's like we're one happy family here, one big family, or big and happy, or whatever. We're one family. We're all together. There's only one of us in this room.
Numero one.
Right.
On the planet.
There's only one of us in this world.
I want to talk to you today about sacred contracts, and this has really been a momentous week. Starting with the election and the coverage and the people that we had access to see their reactions as things were unfolding. Not everybody was happy, but most of the coverage focused on the happy people at some point. And it was interesting, a couple of days later, after the election, Will Smith was on Oprah. I don't know if any of you got a chance to see that or not. But his comment was that the election was not about the fact that we voted in an African American, but it was about the evolution of our species. And that was really very meaningful to me. He said he's at a point in his life where he doesn't do anything that doesn't fulfill him as a person, that doesn't allow him to be in service to his fellow human beings. And that itself, I think, speaks of the evolutionary process that's ongoing. And we talk about it every Sunday when we say the fellowship of the brotherhood of God and the Father, and well, we talk about our fellowship as our fraternal service as our way of life and purpose of life. Also, it was a momentous week for me because one of my sisters passed away. I'm the oldest of 9, and I've already lost 2 brothers. And this sister was the next to the youngest. She was 54. You all may have noticed a few weeks ago, I wasn't in church one Sunday, and I had driven up to Birmingham to be with her. And a couple of my other sisters, one sister couldn't make it, but she came a couple of weeks later, and she got hospice set up, and so that my sister would be comfortable in her last days. And so the sister who called me is the youngest sister, the baby, and she said, I didn't know who to call. There's so many of us. She said, so I thought I would call you and let you call the others. And so we talked for a few minutes, and she had called me a couple of times, and she had, right now she's between jobs, and so she had just taken off and gone down to stay with my sister to be there with her. And she called me, and she said, you know, she'd be upset when she called. She said, I don't think she knows who I am. And we talked for a few minutes, and then she'd say, I feel better. And then we get off the phone, and she'd go do whatever she did, and I'd do whatever I do. But I was thinking then about soul contracts, because when I look at a picture I took, or a picture that someone took for me, of me and my sisters together, it almost doesn't look like we're from the same family. And maybe that happens with you too, that there are people that you love and that you grew up with or have known, and you diverge, you change a lot. And I was thinking about sacred contracts and how we agree at some point, and most people say we agree before we incarnate, what we're going to do and who is going to provide us with lessons, like our little play, this Little Soul in the Sun, where the little soul wanted to learn forgiveness this lifetime. And the friendly soul said, I can help you do that. I'll do something so horrific that you'll be able to learn forgiveness in a big way. And when I look at people taken so young in life, it's sad in a way, and yet we realize that this is their sacred contract. It's not our business. We have to honor it. You see people who don't seem to have the will or the impetus to get themselves out of a situation that looks like it's negative or down, or, I mean, she had a very, very difficult life. And she was a beautiful woman. I remember her as a child, and you could almost see her aura. She was such a sweetheart. Anyway, she's passed away, and I know that she's with my brothers and my parents and some other people in our family who were very dear to her and who she was dear to. And then another thing has happened in the last month or so, a couple of months. I was having a dream, a recurrent dream, where people stand around and talk in a space in twos and threes, very small groups. And these people are very peaceful, they're intelligent, they're wise. There doesn't seem to be any judgment in what they're talking about. They're just standing around and exchanging ideas, information. I never really know what they're saying, but I can tell that what it is something that's important. It's not like the election results or something like that. It's just something that has value and meaning. And I also got a book by while I was in Birmingham visiting my sister, looking for things to do because she could only visit with us a couple of hours and then she had to go lay down. And I picked up a book by Gary Zukav, Soul to Soul, and there was a story in there about two young men who'd grown up together, graduated high school, enlisted in the Marines, and they were sent to Vietnam, and they were in the same group. And they took fire, and one of them fell in a clearing, and the rest of the group managed to get to safety. And the man who had fallen was one of the two friends, and he started calling his friend's name. And the sergeant held him back and said, "Don't even think about it, because he'll be dead, and if you go out there, you're going to be dead too." And so he heard his name called again, and he tore away from his sergeant, went and got the man and pulled him back to a safe area. And he was dead. And the sergeant said, "See, I told you that he was dead, and there was nothing that you could do." And the man said, "Yes, but when I got there, he was still alive. And he said, 'I knew you'd come.'"